racist violence, from immigration mugs to Rwanda, from Reform to Blue Labour. The spiral of doom on this issue continues apace. The shameless posture of politicians who wish to make a name on the back of this issue, driving division is one of the most unedifying parts of this job and this place. Just last week, the Honourable Member for Clacton was praising Trump. Horrific statements to ethnically cleanse guards of the people it belongs to. A plan that itself will create over 1.6 refugees if, God forbid, it comes to fruition. I can't help but wonder, Madam Deputy Speaker, how many of those freshly created refugees will be invited to build a new life in Clacton. I also worry, Madam Deputy Speaker, that by focusing too extensively on deterrence and enforcement, the government will miss a vital opportunity to tackle the deep-rooted systemic issues that are truly at the heart of inequality in our country. Because if we solve the economic issues, we begin to heal as a nation, and the toxicity around this debate loses its power. Madam Deputy Speaker, I have discussed migration many times with constituents who are concerned, and I really value those conversations. But I was told during one such conversation that we had a shortage of housing due to immigrants, and that constituents could not see a GP because of immigrants. I want to repeat here what I told him. Between 1946 and 1981, as a nation, we built 5 million council homes. Since 1981, we have built 250,000. Liverpool has not built a council house for 36 years. Madam Deputy Speaker, it's Thatcher's legacy, not migration. That's where the finger should point for our present-day housing crisis. And Speaker admits, despite the best attempts of some of the sections of the media to portray asylum seekers living a life of luxury at UK taxpayers' expense, the reality is quite different. It is often the private companies contracted to run the government immigration services and house asylum seekers in awful conditions who reap the benefits. Serco's 2023 half-year results stated that revenues increased by 13%, with financial statements citing a rise in profits partly due to strong demand for immigration services. And the destruction of the NHS by 14 years of austerity and decades of privatisation is why people can't get a GP appointment or receive treatment in A&E. It's immigrants who help build the NHS, Madam Deputy Speaker. A man recently told me he was a true patriot and that immigration is responsible for everything if you're suffering economically. And he reflected on those words, true patriot, and a narrative being spun around who is and not worthy to live on these isles. Recently, my brother had our DNA tested and discovered that we were 65% Irish, 25% Scottish, 9% Welsh, and surprisingly 1% Danish, but 0 English. Scouse not English, you might say. Yes, I am fiercely proud to come from these isles in my great city of Liverpool, with its melting pot of cultures built on immigration. That's how I define patriotism, not by race or religion, which is a road I fear many are taking right now into the race to the bottom of Trump's America. So to conclude, Madam Deputy Speaker, let us stop demonising those who come to the UK in search of safety, security and a better life. Let us nurture humanity, not hatred, and revisit the methods used to house, support and integrate migrants upon arrival in the UK. As I said earlier, immigration forms the very foundation of my great city, and we are all richer for it. We know that managed badly, immigration can breed fear, anger, hatred, but this is not inevitable. Managed well, and with the right support in place for local communities and migrants, immigration can be benefits for us all. And I will watch this bill as it progresses with great interest to see if it delivers the fair, humane and effective immigration system this country so desperately needs.
Ben Ops objecting.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This government, with this plan, will sadly not get on top of illegal immigration. The Secretary of State has made much of the fact that this bill will introduce powers mirroring counter-terror legislation to allow law enforcement partners to disrupt, investigate and prosecute those facilitating organised immigration crime. But law enforcement already have the ability to disrupt, investigate and prosecute. The Border Security Command and the recruitment of its commander were announced to great fanfare by the government, but what is there to show for it? Having already removed any deterrent, the number of small boats has risen to its highest level, and by the end of the year, numbers had risen to over 30,000 arrivals, crossing now with impunity. The Border Security Command is due to provide and oversee a long-term vision for the border security system. What is that long-term vision for the border security system? Within that system, the Border Security Command is responsible for setting the system's strategic priorities. What are the strategic priorities? The Border Security Commander was appointed in September. It is now February. When will he set the government's strategic priorities for border security? The default answer to nearly every question from the Minister for Border Security and Asylum is that the Border Security Command is providing cross-system strategic leadership to tackle organised immigration crime, because cross-system strategic leadership is the #1 thing that people smuggling gangs fear more than anything. I asked what the Border Security Command's target is for reducing the number of people entering the country by a small boat. Cross-system strategic leadership. I asked what Border Security Command's timeline is for reducing the number of people entering the country via small boats. Cross-system strategic leadership. I asked what Border Security Command provides in the way of cross-system strategic leadership to Border Force, to the National Crime Agency, to immigration enforcement, to the police. The response? The Border Security Command is, for the first time, providing system leadership across those partners. But most importantly, several months after the Border Security Command has been established, I asked how many organised immigration crime groups have been dismantled, or to put that in terms that regular viewers may find more familiar, how many gangs have been smashed. They are collecting key data across the system which will support the Border Security Command's ability to drive cohesive delivery across the system. So none then. Not a single gang has been smashed. The government stated that their new approach to border security will focus on prevent, pursue, protect and prepare. Prevent will disincentivise migrants, but how is this legislation going to change that? Currently, if anybody wondering whether the journey to the UK will be worth the risk, the gov.uk asylum support webpage states, you can ask for somewhere to live, a cash allowance, or both as an asylum seeker. You'll be given somewhere to live if you need it. This could be in a flat, house, hostel, or bed and breakfast. You'll usually get £49.18 for each person in your household. This will help you pay for things you need, like food, clothing, and toiletries. If you've been refused asylum, but you're still eligible for support, you'll be given somewhere to live, £49.18 per person on a payment card for food, clothing, and toiletries. So whether you're eligible for asylum or you're not, you'll still likely get a home and 50 quid a week. What deterrent is there in this legislation to mitigate those pull factors? None. No, I won't. This bill repeals most of the Illegal Migration Act, removes the duty of the Home Secretary to make arrangements to remove persons to their home country or a safe third country who enter the UK illegally, and allows illegal migrants to obtain British citizenship. More incentives. The Illegal Migrant Act blocked asylum seekers from claiming asylum based on their method of entry. So those who enter the country illegally via small boat were unable to claim asylum, be eligible for support, or crucially, be eligible to claim British citizenship. The government talks tough on deportations, proudly boasting that it's deported record numbers of migrants. But over 80% of those individuals are voluntary returns. And when I asked the Home Office how much they were each awarded in financial incentives up to £3,000 per person, the Minister of State for Border Security and Asylum could not provide that information. Why doesn't she know? Even those who lose the game will still walk away with a cash prize. With no credible deterrence since the election, we have seen numbers rocket and migrant hotels reopen, because in just 3 months since the election, the numbers of migrants in asylum hotels has risen by 6,000. That's roughly equivalent to the population of the third biggest town in my constituency. Indeed, in Cambridgeshire, the Honourable Labour members for Peterborough and North West Cambridgeshire have asked the Home Office to rethink their decision to move 146 male asylum seekers into the Dragonfly Hotel in Peterborough. I imagine that wasn't on their first 6 months of a Labour government bingo card. The only deterrent appears to be 5 years in prison if migrants refuse to be rescued in the Channel by French authorities, and I will be staggered if a single person is prosecuted for refusing to be rescued by the French. For reference, threatening someone with a weapon carries a maximum sentence of 4 years custody in the UK. To suggest migrants will receive a harsher sentence for not being rescued by French authorities is nonsense. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a terrible bill that pays lip service to controlling illegal immigration by talking tough whilst crossing its fingers behind its back. We know that members opposite are more comfortable signing letters to stop deportation flights than they are actually deporting people. But this bill pours fuel on the fire of illegal migration. It encourages it, facilitates it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lord Hermer had advised on it. This bill makes for a snappy headline, but it will not be the solution needed to curtail illegal immigration.
Sarah Sultana.
Deputy Speaker, you might not realise it from some of the speeches we've heard, but this bill is actually about people. People fleeing war, persecution and unimaginable hardship. And so the repeal of the Safety of Rwanda Act and parts of the Illegal Migration Act is welcome. These cruel, unworkable policies undermine our international obligations and put lives at risk. But this bill still falls short. It retains harmful provisions like Section 59, deeming asylum claims from countries like Albania, Georgia and India inadmissible. These are not countries that are universally safe. Just ask the LGBT community in Georgia, journalists in Albania, or Kashmiris and religious minorities in India. Survivors of trafficking and torture from these nations seek refuge here. Denying them asylum based on nationality alone is unjust and risks returning them to danger. Section 29 is equally appalling. It denies protection